to the pessimistic, optimistic, and everyone in between. My name is Connor Philippi, and welcome back to the Minnesotan Sports Podcast. And it's getting to the part where you try and ignore the fact that in less than a month now, we're going to have no football for like 7 months, which is just painful to think about through and through. But let's not think about that yet, because we still have two major matchups in a couple days here on Sunday. And then we obviously have the Super Bowl 2 weeks after that. Still plenty of stuff to look forward to. And then, you know, if you're a real football fan, if you're a real sports fan, there's always things to get excited about. There's always the draft. There's always free agency. There's always so much going on there. There's a lot of stuff going on with Aaron Rodgers right now that should be really exciting to break down over the off season. So I'm not going anywhere after these few games are over. But as of right now, focusing on the here and now, we've got 2 games this week that should be incredibly good matchups. And I feel like last week, everyone kind of thought that the divisional round was kind of a letdown. You know, everyone was hoping that some of these games would be a little bit closer. Honestly, the Cowboys-49ers game was the closest one that there was in the entire bunch. Not a lot of games coming down to any close calls or anything like that, just kind of slow and predictable. Except for the Bengals upsetting the Bills, which wasn't exactly predictable, but for the most part, it was either kind of boring games or just predictable games. And these are 2 games that I think should be very close the whole way through. Should be, you know, 2 really good matchups between some high caliber teams, because if you really think about it, based off of the way they've played the last half of the season, these 4 teams are the best. They're the teams that deserve to be in this position. I can't think of any teams that came even close to the 49ers or Eagles in the NFC and the AFC. There are a couple teams that came close, but these 2 teams proved that they were the best after the games they played last week. So we're going to go over all these games. I'll give you my full predictions on who I think will win. And we'll start with the 2 o'clock game, the 49ers at the Eagles. So these are 2 teams actually that haven't met at all so far this year, which is pretty rare. Usually they've met at least once. There's some kind of game you can draw off of. But no, these 2 teams, they've been the powerhouse of the league, the 2 powerhouses of the league for the last 8-9 weeks, really. The Eagles, I mean, have never turned it off. They had a couple rough games, of course. That was when their star quarterback was hurt, so of course they did. But with Hurts in, they have through and through looked like the best team in the entire league. Incredibly explosive offense, and in fact the 49ers also, both teams with incredibly impressive offenses, with Brock Purdy being the star coming out of the Mr. Irrelevant spot. So a lot of great stories with both of these teams. Obviously, since I'm a Vikings fan, I'm kind of partial to root for the 49ers right now. I'm not a big fan of the Eagles, not just because they knocked us out of the playoffs a couple of years ago, but also, or I guess that was 4 years ago by now, but it's not just that, it's also the fact that I really am not a big fan of their fans. I think everyone can agree that Eagles fans are not exactly the most loving, nurturing fan base in the league, and they definitely do not treat outsiders with a whole lot of decorum, let's say. But all that aside, I'm going to be as unbiased with this as I possibly can. So going into this meeting, they both have, like I said, incredibly explosive offenses, and what's made them all around great this year is that both defenses are also incredible, specifically with the defensive line up front. They both deliver so much pressure. They both do so good stopping the run, and those are going to be 2 big factors, but they also have some pretty solid secondaries as well. And it's going to be really interesting to see which one of those ends up prevailing. But I think the 2 main keys to this game will be, first of all, how can Purdy perform in basically the most hostile environment that A, he's played this year, and B, no matter how long his career lasts, I think this is going to be the most hostile environment he'll play in. Because like I said, Eagles fans are pretty ruthless. They're not afraid to say basically anything to the opposing teams and kind of scare the opposing fans out of the stadium. They're kind of the Yankees fans of the NFL, at least from a lot of stories I've heard and just from observing online. So this is going to be a really loud, really hostile environment. Purdy's been playing pretty comfortably the last couple of weeks, and I think that this is going to be a really tough game for him in order to continue to, I mean, he's been really cool, calm, and collected, especially for a rookie. Basically every start he's had, he's just been incredibly level-headed, and I just think that if there's any game he is going to have a little bit of a collapse in confidence or overthink things or just try too hard to force issues and cause turnovers, it will be this game. I'm not saying I think it'll happen for sure, but if it does happen, it would be this game for sure. And then we've got, can the Eagles stop McCaffrey and Kittle? Those are going to be the two main factors, because the entire Shanahan offense revolves around getting the ball to his playmakers. Deebo Samuel, and then we got McCaffrey, who they acquired in a trade, and then we also have George Kittle. Kittle is a step below Kelsey, but not by much. He is an incredibly good blocker, and he just, I mean, if you're trying to find a guy, he's old reliable for this defense or for this offense. So it's going to be really important, because the Eagles have been really good at stopping the run all year long, but they have not faced a running back like McCaffrey. They have not faced a system like this offensive system. It's going to be really important to see how both these defenses work, but specifically the main guys I'm looking at are McCaffrey and Kittle. It's a really tough decision for this game, because I don't have incredible amount of confidence in Brock Purdy, like I said, to come into that environment and just continue to ball out like he's been balling out. But I also believe so much in George Kittle and McCaffrey and this entire Shanahan offense. It's just built on confusing the other team, and just it's a super solid mix of the way offenses have always worked well in the past, which is get the ball to your best guys, but also there's a lot of trickery, there's a lot of fast movement. I mean, you really are able to get into the other team's head when you have an offense like that, and just you're always able to churn out first down. So it's really difficult decision, but I will say my prediction is that the Eagles will win this game. I'm going to say 31-27. I think it'll be kind of back and forth the most of the way, but the Eagles will pull ahead, and I think that in the late moments of the game, Purdy either might deliver a game-sealing interception or might just, I don't know. I'm not saying it would be a choke necessarily, especially considering what he's done so far this season, but I do think that it's just going to be a little too much for a rookie in his position to overcome. So I'm going to say the Eagles win. You know, the last few games, Purdy's just had to be there and deliver strikes, but in this game, he's going to have to step up and be better than that, and he's going to have to play elite, which he's almost gotten to, but not quite so far this season. So I just don't think he's going to quite be able to do that. So the Eagles will advance to the Super Bowl, as much as I hate to say it. And then we've got the Bengals versus the Chiefs for the rematch that everyone was waiting for. Either the Bills versus Chiefs or Bengals versus Chiefs. Either way, it would have been an epic rematch. The Bengals have beat the Chiefs 27-24 this year, as well as beating them twice last year, including in last year's AFC Championship. So not only is this a rematch of multiple different games over the years, it's also a rematch of last year's AFC Championship. So last year, the Bengals came into this as an underdog. They're still going into this year's AFC Championship as an underdog, but not quite the same way. It was kind of like people didn't really think, they really counted the Bengals out last year. They really didn't think they had much of a chance. Whereas this year, they're still kind of an underdog, but people definitely do see them having a chance, especially because they're much less underdogs in this game because of Mahomes' injury. So during the game against the Jags, if you follow football at all, I'm sure you've heard about this being talked about just every single day. But Mahomes had a high ankle sprain sustained in that game against the Jags. And he says he's going to play, and I fully believe he's going to play. It's not serious enough of an injury for him to not play, but there's absolutely no way he's 100%. So if he's at his 75 to 80%, I think it makes the Bengals a lot less of underdogs than people would, I think, initially say. So that is the first key to the game is what level will Mahomes be able to play with his high ankle sprain, because it's a big mobility problem and it's a strength of throw problem, because whether it's your plant foot or the other foot, I don't know what's the non-plant foot, but whichever one it is, you know, it's important for you to be able to plant one foot firmly and then push off with another foot. And it's difficult to do that when one of your ankles is sprained. And the thing is, though, even at 80%, Mahomes is, I mean, yes, there was a lot of memes and jokes about how Chris Collinsworth was just praising Mahomes like no other. Even when he was throwing balls into the dirt, he was saying it's a great play by Mahomes. And yes, it was a little over the top, but it really is true. People like to hate on Mahomes just because of how much, whenever you're talked about as the top quarterback in the league, you're just going to have people trying to prove everyone wrong, like wanting to not like him because of that. And it really is true that Mahomes can do things that no other quarterback can do. He's incredibly special, and if he was fully healthy in this game, I would have said the Chiefs would win this game by 10, honestly. And the Bengals and their O-line is also going to be another key factor in this game. Honestly, they really held up well against the Bills, but that was against a Bills pass rush that was really decimated. The Bills team in general just looked really just not there like they have the past few weeks, and for obvious reasons. I'm not saying that's any excuse for why the Bengals won or anything. I'm just saying specifically the pass rush was very lackluster. So how will they be able to perform against this Kansas City Chiefs pass rush? And also, I'm not going to say how well will Kelsey play. It's just going to be what level of unstoppable will Kelsey be. Will he be 200 yards unstoppable, or will the Bengals be able to at least keep him in check? Because Kelsey is that guy. On 3rd and short, you get the ball to him, and there's going to be key moments in this game where the Bengals are going to have to stop Travis Kelce in order to prevent the Chiefs from getting ahead too far, and it's going to be a big factor. Prediction, if Mahomes, like I said, was fully healthy, I'd go with the Chiefs. I'm going to say the Bengals win 28-24. I just think that Mahomes' injury might be a little too much. This Bengals team is firing on all cylinders. I think people are paying way too much attention to the Ravens game, because that was really the only game that the Bengals have played like semi-poorly in the last 10 weeks. I think that the Bengals offense with Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, and Joe Burrow has been the most level-headed and clutch quarterback in the league besides Mahomes so far this year. It really is true to me. And it's a really tough pick, but I'm going to say the Bengals move on. Not just because I want them to, because I do want them to. I'm a big proponent of rooting for the teams that haven't won a Super Bowl, because I want to live vicariously through them as a Vikings fan. But that's not the reason I'm picking them. It's just when you've got an ankle injury as a quarterback, especially because Mahomes does so much with his feet and moving around, escaping pressure. He's such a mobile quarterback. I just think the Bengals just barely have the edge here. So that does it for my predictions, kind of a shorter prediction video because it's only 2 games. But please let me know in the comments what you think. I'll break down a lot more key factors and everything in the Super Bowl predictions because it's such a big game. But thanks so much for watching this one. Again, let me know in the off season what you want me to focus on. Obviously, I'm going to talk a lot about, trades and off-season acquisitions, which I'll talk a lot about the Vikings and what I think they should do following their very unfortunate end of the season. There's a lot of different things I'll talk about, but please let me know in the comments if there's anything else that you want me to talk about, whether it's sports related. I might even do things that aren't sports related just for fun on this channel. So let me know if you have any ideas, and make sure you like and subscribe because there's a lot of exciting stuff coming up. So thanks again, and I'll see you on the flip side.